because it's only her name on the car, she is adamant that I have no rights to that asset at all.
She can either give the car to you or she keep the car and you take a lump sum so that you can replace the car.
He's obviously been put in the predicament by herself to choose between myself and her. She's going to cut all rights from the baby. He feels like he's very stuck with no choice.
That's not the case though, is it? He does have a choice. Emotions are running high at the moment, but after the baby is born, things may change.
If you have 50-50 childcare, do I owe her money?
If we have one parent that is earning significantly more than the other, child maintenance can still apply. I can't get my head around how that's fair. Hi everyone and welcome back to the Legal Queen live show. My name is Tracy Maloney, aka the Legal Queen on social media. I am also a practicing family law solicitor and have been now for over 20 years. During that time, I've helped lots and lots of people with not only their divorce questions, but also their finance questions and of course, child custody matters. If you have a question that you think I could help you with, then please join me on Discord. Pop your hand up when you come into the Legal Queen Lounge and I'll get to you as soon as I can. Now enjoy the show. Ben, let me come to you. I'll take you off mute. How can I help?
Oh, hi there. So what it is, I just had a question sort of regarding children. So
Yep.
it's kind of two questions really. So split up with my ex-partner. She wouldn't agree to 50-50. There was a bit of back and throwing between me and her solicitor. Eventually, she agreed to it, but she didn't want to do anything in writing. So there's no sort of court order. There's no sort of written arrangement. She refused to go to mediation, but we've been doing 50-50 for a while now. She's now sort of threatening to go back to court, but I'm not quite sure for why, because we've got like a 50-50 routine. Can she change that routine, like just because it's without my consent?
Yeah, I mean, look, the honest answer is yes, she can. If she feels that it's not working for the child or not working for her, or she can't adhere to it, or whatever her reasons are, yes, she can. The remedy then is, if you don't agree with those changes, is court action, which is sad. A lot of times it's not really a legal issue that we have, Ben. It's more of a co-parenting thing. And it does sadden me where, one parent will unilaterally make a decision as to what they feel is in the best interest of the child without even consulting the other parent. But yes is the answer to your question.
Okay. And then the second question was about, so I'm not sure if this is a myth as well, so it's about child maintenance.
Yes.
So if you have 50-50 childcare,
Yeah.
and so she's got me to agree to pay like I'm not quite sure what the term is, but we've not been through CMS. There's like a figure that she's got off the CMS website based on the amount of nights, which is like 7 out of 14. Do I owe her money? So I've sort of heard from some people that if it's direct 50-50, you pay for everything, school uniforms, or like their food, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You don't. But then the calculator, when you put in the amount of overnight stays they've got with me, is saying that I do. So yeah, I'm a bit confused about that.
So maintenance really does stay with CMS, Ben, and I'm going to direct you to their calculator based off the back of what I'm saying, because that's far more authoritative than I am. But I do know, having, done the number of clients that I have had over the years, that even where we have a 50-50 shared care, if we have one parent that is earning significantly more than the other, child maintenance can still apply. Now, I can't get my head around how that's fair, because it's almost like a penalty for earning more money. And earning more money doesn't usually happen via luck. You've trained, you've studied, or you've worked damn hard. But yes, I do see where you're going, and I have had some of my clients say that. We've got a 50-50 shared care order. I've sent it into CMS, but CMS is still saying that I've got to pay more because I earn more. So I would say go back to CMS, Ben, or just go on that online calculator and be guided by them. They have the jurisdiction when it comes to maintenance.
So me and a partner from about 7 years ago are now officially together. The problem that we are having is he has got 2 children on the way, obviously with myself, and her previously. And he's obviously been put in the predicament by herself to choose between obviously myself and her. And the minute she hasn't got what she wanted, she has decided that she's going to cut all rights from the baby, and that's what he's scared of. Legally, obviously, I know where she hasn't given birth, he has no parental rights at the moment. Is there any way we can go around that once, obviously, she's had the baby and we take court proceedings?
Yeah, so as long as he is the biological father, once the baby is born, let's see what happens, first of all. That's what I always say. Emotions are running high at the moment, but after the baby is born, things may change. If mum is still saying at that stage that she's not going to allow the child to have a relationship with dad, then he can make a C100 application. And what he's asking the court for is a child arrangements order. He can't make it, obviously, until the child is born. And if she doesn't put him on the birth certificate, he just ticks on the C100 that he needs permission to make the application. And that'll be fine. He'll be granted the permission. But yeah, wait to see what happens. You know, let the emotions settle down, particularly for mum. Let the hormones settle down, and let's see where we are then.
Right, okay. It's only because obviously we are trying to make sure that both the children, because I said that I didn't want any of the children being emotionally unstable at any point because of how the relationships are and aren't working with certain people.
Yeah.
And obviously I've spoken to her myself and said, look, it's not in the benefit of the child's sake to stop that relationship from happening. But that's obviously her only level of control that she's got to, obviously, she adds pressure for him to then break and say, okay, then we'll be together just so I can see my child.
Yeah.
He feels like he's very stuck with no choice.
Yeah. Well, that's not the case, though, is it? He does have a choice. And as I say, if she's not going to allow the child to have a relationship with him, then he can make a C100 application.
Right. Okay. That's perfect.
Lovely. Thank you, Caitlin.
Lovely. Thank you ever so much.
Bye-bye.
I am currently going through a divorce. My
Yes.
wife has filed after 8 years because she feels she's better off with another man. We bought a car together on finance, and because it's only her name on the car, she is adamant that I have no rights to that asset at all.
Okay. Whose name is the car in?
It is in her name.
So the car belongs to her. So then what's your question of me?
Well, I've been paying 50% of it since we got it, and I've made a standing order on my account to go to her account every month so that my 50% was given to her and then she could make the payments.
Okay. So when you were together, did you both drive the car or was it only driven by one person?
We both drove the car.
Okay. So the remedy then in finances, because that's what's going to happen following the divorce, is that one of two things. She can either give the car to you and it's transferred into your name, and then she take a lump sum from any assets so that she can replace the car, or she keep the car and you take a lump sum from any matrimonial assets so that you can replace the car.
Okay. She also earlier this year had an inheritance from her father.
Yes.
Would they be used for her to pay that lump sum, or would they be untouchable?
In the first instance, no. The court's always keen to ring fence inheritance, but difficult to answer that, Sin, without knowing what assets are in the marriage. And please don't tell me on this forum. So my first answer would be no. The inheritance will be ring fenced. But if you haven't had advice up to this point, now's the time that I think you need some. Because there's a lot more here that you need. We don't know what we don't know. And I think even just a one-off advice, you don't have to instruct a solicitor ongoing, but even a one-off advice I think would assist you here. Because finances on divorce, there might be a lot more that you're entitled to that you're not aware of.
I do believe there is, but okay. I don't really want to rip her from everything I possibly can, because she does have the kids and she will need to be in a stable position to look after the kids.
Sure. So I'm not insinuating for 1 minute that we rip her off. I'm just saying that now's the time for you to get some advice. definitely, once we start divorce proceedings and we're looking to get a financial order, it's really important that you find out what you're legally entitled to. More importantly, what the court would consider to be a fair and reasonable outcome.
Yeah, that's why I booked an appointment with a solicitor.
Fabulous. All right, Sin, all the best with that.
Thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye now. Just on the back of that, guys, I can't stress how important it is. You know, I'm not saying for 1 minute that you have to speak to me or one of my team, but just be sure that you get yourself some advice, even if it's just a one-off, because when you do start the divorce proceedings, it's really important that you get the financial order. It's so important to sever the financial ties. When you guys get married, you are entering into a contract. And by getting a divorce, you have not ripped that contract up financially, I mean. You have to get your financial order.
So basically, long and the short of it, I've been through the first hearing in court.
Yeah.
I'm going into the next hearing, and I've got a lot of questions from my ex-partner.
Yes.
But some of the questions she's asked are really bizarre. Like, I've met somebody new, so we've been going on holidays a few times, which my new partner's paid for largely.
Yeah.
So she wants to know how I've paid for it.
Yeah.
That's the first question. Obviously, I haven't paid for it. So how do I have to declare that my partner's paid for it, or do I just ignore that?
Stick to the question is what I would say. If the question is, how did you pay for the holiday? You would say, I didn't pay for the holiday. Just answer the question and just keep it really factual, I suppose. That's what I'm trying to say.
Excellent. That's good news then. So I'll do that then. So the next one is as I've been investigating questions that she's asked and over the last year.
Yes.
I found out she's opened bank accounts in my name without me knowing.
Okay.
She's hidden vast sums of money. She's been stealing about £1,000 a month out my bank account when we was together.
Goodness me.
And hiding it. So she's got roughly about £40,000 hidden, but she's not declared any of this.
So have you?
But obviously, when I've been,
I'm going to say, have you done a questionnaire?
I've done a questionnaire, yes.
And did you?
I've done it, and
did you ask the questions in that?
Yeah, the judge unfortunately threw all of it out, virtually all my questions out.
Did you have
claiming that I was just being awkward?
Yeah. You didn't have legal representation then?
No, because we're representing ourselves.
Okay. I mean, look, the questions that you're telling me about, they're genuine questions and they do need to be answered because she's taken money and a substantial amount. It could have been the way that you asked the question. I don't know. But they're certainly not.
Probably will have been.
Yeah. Okay.
So what I've done is the police are involved anyhow, and they've been investigating her for about a year, and they're getting close to making an arrest on her because she's committed fraud. She's accessed my HMRC, medical records. She's done all sorts of stuff. But the long and the short of it is she doesn't really know that the police are involved at this stage because they're getting ready to arrest her. But obviously my questionnaire, all the questions she's asked me, how do I say to her, well, the police are investigating this? Or do I just not mention that at all?
It's difficult for me to answer that because you're not really telling me what the question is. And I don't want to ask you what the question is because I don't want you to give me too much detail.
Yeah, some of the questions she's asked, obviously, she said about, because we've mentioned this bank account that she opened without me knowing about.
Right.
And she said in it straight away, well, we've spent that. I've spent that and that money's gone. Why do you keep raising it in the court papers?
So your answer to that would be that you're just trying to establish where it went. That's it.
Yes.
Why do you keep going on about it? I'm trying to establish where the money went. Boom. That's the answer.
Brilliant. I shall do that.
Yeah.
So should I not mention anything about the police then, or
I wouldn't. It's separate to family. It's just keep it factual when it comes to the family side of stuff, and let the criminal side of stuff sort itself out. If that makes sense.
Yeah, because obviously my solicitors advised me that whatever happens, that if the police find this money, I'll just take her back into court and drag her back in and take it that way.
Depends. Yeah, it depends what's happened to the money. I'd worry less about that at this stage.
Right.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Brilliant. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Nuki. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks.
But yeah, just off the back of what that person was saying, please, if you're representing yourself, Keep everything factual. Make sure that you are not wandering off into the emotional side of your divorce or your finances, or if this is your children's matter, make sure that you're keeping everything as factual as you possibly can, okay? That's a key tip. You know, one of the reasons that I do so much social media is to try to educate people to do it themselves. And if you are doing it yourself, keep it as factual as you can. And I get that's really hard. I do get that. Because obviously this is your children and your house, your pension, etc., your money, but try to keep it as factual as you can.
We are in the contents divorce over the year because now I had my proceeding going in Poland, and now English court uphold the jurisdiction of English court to go ahead with our divorce.
Yes.
Am I gonna have the opportunity to stop my wife applying for the final order before our child arrangement proceeding is gonna finish and our finance gonna be finished as well?
If you don't consider it appropriate for the final order to be made, you can make an application to the divorce court for a stay. A stay, we call it a stay in proceedings. Now, you're going to need to take some legal advice on that because you've got to have good grounds to stay. And the fact that you are in court for both finance and children, there would be a fair few questions I would want to ask you. But yes is the answer to your immediate question.
I fear my wife is delaying attending her first mediation appointment to stop me from processing forward. Still no financial agreement reached after 2 years of being separated. Also, she's just got a new car. Would this be included in the marital assets?
Depends on the value. I mean, typically cars are depreciating assets, so we don't place too much value on them. But of course, I don't know what car it is. Is it a marital asset? Yes, it is. It's obviously needed, but it would depend on the value as to how much stock we place on it, really. Usually what's happening is one person's keeping the car and the other person is taking a lump sum to the same sort of value, really, to give them a car. That's typically what we're doing.
My soon-to-be ex and I agreed to sell the marital home and split the process 50-50. So I went down the consent route online. Now she is not complying with it. Initial financial request to fill in forms. What would be the next step?
If we can't get agreement between two people for the finances and therefore submit the financial order to the court, we've got to make a court application. And you do that by completing a Form A. The Form A is the form that will trigger the financial application.
And that's just on the government website, yeah?
Yeah, they're all on the government website. Yeah, absolutely.
Can you tell us legally what the difference is between a civil partnership and a marriage?
Well, there's no difference really. The civil partnerships years ago were obviously designed for same-sex marriages, and they didn't have the same outcome as we had for heterosexual couples. And then the law was changed and it all caught up. So we do still have some civil partnerships that sadly the relationships or the marriages end. But now that the financial outcome that we apply to them or the law that we apply to them is exactly the same.
The law just needs to catch up with cohabited couples then, doesn't it, Tracy?
Absolutely. I mean, for cohabitees, it's an absolute nightmare. You are literally rolling the dice, and we do need a massive overhaul in terms of the law for cohabitees, because they are so vulnerable. You know, if you're living, and I'm just going to use this opportunity to say this, if you're living with somebody in a property that is in your partner's name, know that there is no such thing as a common law man and wife. Know that if you're not married, you have no automatic right to any of the assets in your partner's name. And whilst it all may be, you know, great at the moment, what I see are people where the relationships have broken down, and I have the unfortunate job of telling them that they're not actually entitled to anything, even though they may have lived in that property for 20 years and thought of it as their home. You know, legally, cohabitees are very vulnerable in that instance.
Even if someone was to die in that scenario, Tracy,
Yeah.
they wouldn't. The house wouldn't automatically go to the partner who's lived in there for 30 years, would it?
Exactly. I mean, we would look to the will to see who the beneficiary is, but oftentimes it's not the partner. You know, the beneficiary might be children that they've had from a previous relationship, or it might even be their parents or their siblings. You know, if we're looking at houses that have been passed down or inherited, that, you know, people want certain things to stay within the family. And a lot of times people don't talk about their wills with their partners or even with their spouses. So it's different, obviously, if you're married when it comes to a will, because you are the next of kin, but you're not when you're just a cohabitee. So I'm always, you know, if you're going to go into a relationship where we're starting to mingle finances and live in someone else's house, it doesn't hurt to get some advice and understand your legal rights.
Where does the common law man and wife myth come from, Tracy? Where does it stem from somewhere, or is it something that's just become a rumor and then people now take it as fact?
Yeah, I think it's the latter. I think it was a rumor that started. Well, you know, we've been together for 20 years. Oh, you're definitely entitled to this then, because my neighbour or my friend's sister or whatever it might be said this, that, and the other, and she was able to get, you know, the house out of him or whatever. But it is a myth. It's a complete and utter myth. If you are living with somebody and you're not married, then, you know, you're vulnerable if things aren't in your name. Look, if, you know, there's lots of people, I get so many people on my channel that say, don't get married, particularly the men, don't get married because when you go through divorce, the wife's going to take it all. If you want that sort of relationship where everything's kept separate, I agree, you know, but it comes down to the individual want. People say, would you get married, or, you know, would you avoid marriage for a financial aspect? Absolutely not. It comes down to what the individual wants. What the heart wants, as I always say.
Yeah. Do you find that in family law, a lot of family lawyers stay away from getting married, or they do get married, or because obviously they see it all when it all ends in disaster?
Yeah, I think it's interesting when you meet somebody and you fall in love. I think the law goes out the window because we're all, to a certain extent, thinking, well, that's not going to happen to us. Can't possibly happen to us, because here I am looking at this amazing partner who's never going to be nasty and horrible. And I have this conversation with my clients and say, look, you know, they won't always like this because you married them. You wouldn't have married this horrible person now. So let's sort of dig deep and let's see if we can't get a resolve. But I think family lawyers are as vulnerable as anybody else.